I spent 3 weeks fighting with my breast pump before I realized I was doing everything wrong. And if you're about to start pumping, you're probably going to make the same exact mistakes I did. But in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to use a Spectra breast pump, avoid the most common beginner errors, and make pumping so much easier so that you can actually keep it up. Hey mama, I'm Annie, and over the last 8 years and 5 kids, I've spent literally thousands of hours using my Spectra breast pump. And no, I'm not sponsored or compensated by them in any way. Today, we're covering everything about this pump, from what parts are included to how to put them together, to troubleshooting, to which settings to use. And of course, all of my tips from using this thing for years and counting throughout the way. This is the Spectra S1 model. The only difference between the S1 and the S2 is that the S1 has a built-in rechargeable battery, which is super helpful when I need to pump away from an outlet. The S2 needs to be plugged in at all times. That's the only difference other than the color. Okay, so now let's talk about what is in the box when you open it, because this confused me so much the first time. I've got my pump parts right here. We've got our bottles. We've got our duckbill valves. Those are these little things. Now, these are the flanges. They come in two sizes right out of the box, a 24 millimeter and a 28 millimeter. And then we also have what they call the backflow protector assembly, which is a fancy word for these three parts here that will fit together. And yes, I'll show you how to do it, but it's these three parts and you get a second set of them as well. So 6 of these total parts, 3 for each side of your pump. Then you get, of course, the pump itself. You get these 2 pieces of tubing, and then you get your power cable, which looks like this. Nothing fancy there. And also, by the way, these parts are not Spectra brand parts, but they do work on my Spectra pump. They're from a brand called Maymon. They're a little bit less expensive, and hey, any girl likes to save a couple bucks. So I'll link to the exact replacement pump parts that I get instead of the Spectra replacements. You can buy them off the Spectra site, or these are the ones that I get off of Amazon that work great. They are just less expensive. I don't have to replace pump parts often. I do recommend having a replacement set of parts on hand. Now, here's where it all connects, and here's the order in which I actually connect it. First thing I like to do is put my little duckbill valve onto this flange. There's a little part here where it just connects. What I like to do next is I take the bottle and I attach it. And that allows me to then set this whole thing down. What I do next is I grab these 3 little parts, and I first take the smallest. There's like these 2. There's one that's smaller than the other, and then this like rubbery one. I take the smaller of the 2 and I snap the rubbery one onto it just like this. So it goes there. And then I take the larger, and this fits in here like this. And when you're done, it looks like that. Then this connects right here, and you just simply stick it there. And then eventually what you'll do when you've got the other one connected, you will stick your hose on there and you're ready to go. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and repeat that for the other side. Of course, before your first use, you should wash and sterilize everything that would touch the milk. So like the flanges, all these parts. Definitely out of the box, you want to do that before you ever use it. Let's talk about fit. Flange size matters a lot. If your flanges are too small, the pumping will be uncomfortable and you won't be able to empty your breasts efficiently. If they're too large, you'll get too much suction on the areola instead of on the nipple, which can cause pain and reduce output. The Spectra out of the box comes with 24 millimeter and 28 millimeter flanges. Just pay attention to how it feels and try a different size if things aren't working well for you, keeping in mind that it should not be painful. Here's what I like to do. First of all, find a comfortable, quiet spot where you can relax. Position your flanges over your breasts, making sure your nipples are centered. You need a good seal between your skin and the flange for suction to work properly. I find if I don't get a good seal, it's usually because a little piece of my bra or my shirt or something is stuck in between my flange and part of my breast and I didn't notice it. So make sure that you are totally clear in that area, that your flange can touch your skin directly. Now, here's where the Spectra settings come in. When you turn the pump on, you'll see that it starts in massage mode, and this is the faster cycling mode. And what this does is it stimulates letdown. It mimics the baby's quick sucks that it does at the beginning of a feeding. So what I like to do is stay in massage mode until I start to see milk flowing or until I feel my letdown happen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it to expression mode. So I'm going to hit that same button again, which changes the mode. to expression mode. This is the slower and stronger suction mode that actually will extract the milk. Now, you're probably wondering, what suction level should I use? I recommend starting with a lower suction level, like a 3 or 4, and then gradually increasing it till you find what's comfortable. For me, comfortable was always more effective than cranking up to the high setting. So you can adjust the cycles here, or you can adjust the vacuum strength here. And then as far as the suction strength and cycle speed, you'll have to do a little bit of trial and error. I usually found that a moderate suction with a faster cycle speed worked better for me than having maximum suction with a slow cycle, but everyone's different. So you should experiment and find what makes sense for your body. On expression mode, it goes as low as 38 cycles per minute, all the way up to 54 is the highest. And so that means it'll go faster sucking. And then the vacuum is like how hard it's sucking. Now, if your milk flow slows down, you can switch back to massage mode for a minute or two to trigger another letdown and then go back to expression mode. So you can do this even multiple times per session if you'd like to. You might want to plan to pump for about 15 or so minutes per session, or until your milk flow really slows down. Some sessions you'll get more and some you'll get less, and that's completely normal. Let's talk about the part of pumping that nobody enjoys, but everybody needs to know, and that is cleaning. So the Spectra website has their official recommendation, as well as some breastfeeding guidelines. They will tell you that you should wash your pump parts between every single pumping session. Now, I do wash them at the end of every day, but between those 3 pumping sessions throughout my workday, I do not wash them in between sessions. During my workday, I store my pump parts in a gallon Ziploc bag in the fridge. After pumping, I'd empty the milk into the storage bags. I'd screw the bottle back onto the flange, and then I put the whole assembly into a fresh Ziploc into the fridge. When it's time to pump again, then I just take it out, attach the tubing, and start pumping. I've had no issues with this in all those years. Again, do what you feel comfortable with, but that saved me a lot of time. Here's another thing. Many breast pump manufacturers recommend that you don't put their pump parts in the dishwasher, but I've been washing all my pump parts in the dishwasher daily for literally years, and I've had no issues with warping or damage. Obviously, the tubing can't go in the dishwasher, but everything else has held up great for me, and I wash it on the top rack. Recently, though, I've not used the dishwasher. I did cave in and bought the Mom Cozy bottle washer, which I absolutely love. I actually wish I would have gotten it sooner. However, the reason I finally caved and got it is because I now have 5 children. And so there are 7 of us that are using dishes all day. And my dishwasher does not have enough space for 7 people's dishes from a full day, plus my pump parts. It's been nice to have that on the side. I'll put a link to it below just because I love it so much. I was like very skeptical about it, but I've actually loved it, and I wish I would have had something like that sooner. I'm also not sponsored by Mom Cozy. So at the end of each day, I load them into my bottle washer, and then they're ready to go for the next morning. This is a game changer. Something about not having to take the bottle scrubber brush and scrub out my pump parts has been a huge win for me. Now, about replacing parts, if you go to the Spectra website, they'll recommend replacing valves every month or 2, and then other parts on various schedules. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I did not replace my parts that often. I replaced everything when I had a new baby, and then maybe once or twice if something broke. My pump and its parts have worked great and lasted a long time. That said, if your suction seems a little bit weaker or your parts look a little damaged, you can definitely replace them. And again, I will put the link to the non-Spectra brand below that does work on the Spectra pumps, that is less expensive and has worked wonderfully for me. Another thing I'll say, and this is just my experience, it's held up really well. After 8 years of heavy use across multiple babies, and I work full time, so this thing gets used 3 times a day for a full year after each baby. It still works really well, just like it did when I first got it. Okay, so now let's talk about troubleshooting. Here are some of the issues that I ran into and how I solved them. So first of all, low suction or milk output. First of all, check that all of your parts are connected properly. Make sure the duckbill valve is sitting correctly in backflow protector. If it's flipped inside out or not fully sealed, you won't get good suction. Also check that your tubing is securely attached on both ends with no cracks or kinks. Another issue, painful pumping. Pumping should not be painful. If you are experiencing pain, I would check to make sure that your flange size is correct. I would check your suction and make sure it's not too high, or maybe both. First, I would try sizing up or down on your flanges. and making sure you're not cranking the suction to the max just because it goes that high. Higher suction doesn't always equate to more milk production. So don't let yourself fall for that one. And it should not be painful. So if it's painful for you to pump, it should not be, and you should definitely troubleshoot. Issue number 3 is inconsistent results. This was me for a while. Establishing a consistent pumping schedule really helped me. I pump at the exact same times each day, which helped me maintain my supply. Your body responds really well to routine. When I've not gotten consistent results, it's either because I pumped too close together or too far apart. And really, it was about that schedule consistency. Here are a few more things I learned along the way. Get a hands-free pumping bra if you don't have one yet. Being able to use your hands while you're pumping is absolutely amazing. Next, keep a pumping station set up if you'd like. Having everything in one spot, like your pump parts, storage bag, water bottle, charger, makes it easier to just sit down and pump without having to hunt for stuff. Next, I would not compare your output to others. Seriously, some people pump 8 ounces per session, some pump only 2. Both can be completely normal depending on your supply, when you last fed or pumped, the time of day, and so many other factors. If you are exclusively pumping, expect to pump about 8 to 12 times per day in those early weeks to establish your supply, and then you can probably drop to 6 to 8 times. Look, I'm not going to lie, those first few times I tried pumping, I felt completely overwhelmed. There are so many parts, so many settings, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it got easier really quick once I figured out the basics. The most important thing to remember, get your flange size right, start with gentle suction and work your way up, keep your parts clean, and be patient with yourself. Your body needs time to adjust to pumping, and that's okay. I hope this video has helped you feel more confident with your breast pump. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I've got a lot of resources available for you in the description below. I love helping other moms navigate this stuff. And if you want even more details or have any other specific questions, let me know. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.